I was diagnosed at 31 with triple negative breast cancer.
Triple negative is one of the most deadly breast cancers. According to the National Breast Cancer Foundation, about 75% of recurrence happens within 3 years of diagnosis.
And people, I think, once you finish your last day of active treatment, everything's over. And for survivors, it very much is not. Like, every pain that you have, you're like, oh, what is this? Like, do I need to go get scanned again? And it's just this constant kind of in the back of your mind lurking of like, it could come back, it could spread.
A breakthrough breast cancer vaccine is showing promise. Researchers aren't just studying the shot for triple negative breast cancer, but also for women who have the BRCA1 or BRCA2 gene.
Hopefully we'll be able to maybe, fingers crossed, this is our vision, eliminate breast cancer as a disease.
For Chase, it's working. She has been cancer-free for almost 5 years. What do you think of that?
I am holding my breath and keeping my fingers crossed. So yeah, it's huge.
So how does it work? Welcome to the Wellness Files, a podcast where we explore practical tools, research, and real stories. I'm your host, Carrie Beal, and today we are sitting down with patient Chase Johnson and Dr. Amit Kumar. We're here with patient Chase Johnson, and we are also here with Dr. Amit Kumar. He is the CEO of Anixa Biosciences. So that's the company that is developing the vaccine along with Cleveland Clinic. So thank you both of you for being here today.
Happy to be here.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, I think everyone's really interested in the science, but also the patient side of it, what this vaccine is like, how does it work? So Chase, I want to start with you. Just tell me your story, kind of what happened. I know you're young too, because I was reading up a little bit on your story, and I think a lot of people, they might be shocked to hear that, something like this can happen when you're in your 30s. It's not something, I'm in my 30s, so I don't think about this very often, but I think, your story has an important message to always look for signs that we might miss otherwise. So Chase, just tell me a little bit your journey.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're 100% right. Like this is not something that was on my radar at all until it happened to me. I was diagnosed at 31 with triple negative breast cancer, which is one of the most aggressive forms of breast cancer that you can get. I went through the traditional route of treatment. I did IV chemo, I did surgery, and then I did radiation. And I still, at the time of surgery, had a little bit of residual disease, which then led me to do 6 months of oral chemo. But that's really where I started, kind of researching a lot and trying to figure out what else can I do beyond like the traditional treatment routes to mitigate my risk of having it come back, because triple negative breast cancer does have a really high rate of recurrence. So I started looking into immunotherapy options, and that's when I ran across the Cleveland Clinic and this vaccine and was really excited about it and just feel very fortunate to be able to participate in the trial.
Yeah, so I read that it's about a 40% chance that triple negative breast cancer will come back. Is that correct, Dr. Kumar and Chase?
Yes, it can be higher as well, but yeah, it's around.
Yeah. So that's why this is so important, because there is a high chance that it could come back. So Chase, what was that like when you started the process? Did you have to travel to the Cleveland Clinic, or were you able to do that at home, or how did that work?
No, I had to travel to the Cleveland Clinic. So I, first kind of reached out to them. At the time, they weren't enrolling new patients, so I got put on a patient wait list. And then you had to be out of active treatment for about 6 months before you were eligible for the trial. So fortunately for me, around that time, I got a call that I was next up on the wait list, and I flew out to Cleveland in November of 23. And you have to do a bunch of scans to make sure that there's no evidence of disease before before you're eligible for the trial. So I had a bunch of CT scans and things. Unfortunately, everything came back good. And then I was enrolled in the trial, and I came back for about 3 months. I would fly back to the.
I think it's important for people to know you're located in Cary, North Carolina, right? Kind
Yes.
of close to Raleigh, if people know where Cary is. So you had to fly to Ohio, right?
Yes, I did. Yeah, Cleveland, Ohio. So the Cleveland Clinic was great, though. They really, worked to try to pack things on a couple of days for me so that I could, fly in for a few days and then fly back out afterwards. And it was a series of 3 injections and pretty simple overall for the actual participation in the trial.
What was the injection like? Is it like an IV or a shot, or how does that work?
No, it's a shot. So I got two shots in my inner thighs and then one on the right side of my stomach, like a few inches from my belly button. And it feels like a typical vaccine injection. Like if you've had, your childhood immunizations, things
Yeah.
like that, it feels very, very similar to that, to me at least.
And then how many doses of it did you need? Did you say three?
Three. Yep. I
Yeah.
got three spaced 2 weeks apart.
Okay. Did you have any side effects or anything from it?
I did. They were mild, I would say, and I think what you would typically expect from a vaccine injection. Like I there was like a hard lump at the injection site, a little bit of irritation, a little bit of redness. I spiked a fever for a couple of hours, like I think within a few hours of getting the injection. But other than that, everything was pretty routine. And I mean, I think that was routine as well. Like you expect to have some sort of response. I think it was viewed as a good sign that your body's reacting to it in the way
Mhm.
that it's supposed to.
And what year did you have that initially done?
So I got my first injection in December of 2023.
2023. Okay, so now it's been 3 years. Well, maybe two, really?
Two,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, two.
Um, and so is this, and maybe Dr. Kumar, you would know, is this a good time to analyze, like, it hasn't come back, right? Is there a certain period of time that it normally comes back?
Yeah,
Yeah.
typically. Oh,
Oh,
I'm
sorry,
sorry.
go ahead.
I was just saying from a statistical standpoint, we typically, the 40% number that you noted earlier, we typically say within the first 5 years after treatment. But typically, if it does come back, it's most frequently within the first couple of years after treatment.
Mhm.
So Chase has moved past that
Okay.
window.
So I was trying to get, are we at the good news yet? So Chase, you've kind of gotten to that milestone.
So technically July 2nd of this year will be the 5-year milestone.
What do you think of that?
I am holding my breath and keeping my fingers crossed. So yeah, it's huge. I think anyone that's been diagnosed with cancer or has a loved one that's been diagnosed with cancer knows that like the 5-year mark is, the big milestone, and everyone, hopes and prays that that's what they get to. So I'm very excited.
Oh yeah, I imagine so. So Dr. Kumar, I'll go to you next. Can you explain how this vaccine works?
Yeah, the vaccine is a very unique approach that has never been tried before. Just so for context, there are no real cancer vaccines out on the market. We do have one for cervical cancer and for liver cancer, but those work by destroying or attacking the viruses that cause those two cancers. Many other
Mhm.
cancers, like breast cancer, are not caused by viruses, so you have to go after the cancer cells themselves. And people have tried to do this in the past, but it's been unsuccessful. Our approach is one that was invented at the Cleveland Clinic about 2 decades ago, and that's been under research and development for that period of time. And the way it works is that all women produce a protein called alpha-lactalbumin. The name of the protein is not important for our
Yeah.
discussion, but it's a protein that's a lactation protein. It enables a woman to lactate when she gives birth, so
Mhm.
she can feed her infant. Um, when she stops breastfeeding, the protein disappears again. The body understands that we don't need it anymore, so it disappears again. It comes back when she has another baby and another baby. Um, but eventually, after she's no longer going to give birth, the protein completely disappears and is gone. But we know that it appears again when cancer cells appear. We don't know exactly why, but the cancer cells are producing that protein again. So the thought was that if we could vaccinate women and train their immune systems to destroy cancer cells, preferably after they're no longer going to have children, then when those cancer cells arise, the immune system is ready to attack those cells and destroy them. And that's what we saw in the animal studies, and we're evaluating how that works in the human patients like Chase and others as well. So, as you know, when cancer arises, it often is one bad cell that turns into two, then four, then eight, and eventually continues to reproduce until it becomes a big lump that you can then feel or see in a mammogram. But if the immune system is ready and able to destroy those cells at the earliest stage, the 2 cell, the 4 cell, 8 cell stage, then those cells get destroyed and the cancer never has a chance to, this cancer cells never have a chance to become a large tumor that could, cause serious health issues.
So what phase are we in right now? Is this phase 2 of the clinical trial?
We've completed phase one. Chase was one of 35 women that participated in phase one. And, it's always, we always like to thank our patients because without them, we couldn't do anything. And we are in the process of planning the phase two, which includes talking with the FDA, designing the phase two study, and so forth. And so we hope to begin that shortly.
Right now, is it only available at the Cleveland Clinic, or are there other clinics across the US that have this?
The phase one was only available at the Cleveland Clinic, and hence Chase had to fly out to Cleveland. But in phase two, we will not only have it available at the Cleveland Clinic, but we anticipate another 15 or 18 sites throughout the country. So most people will be in a region that allows them to get to the site, to get to a site to participate if they choose to.
Yeah, because that could be, you can just drive there instead of
Yeah.
having to fly. And then at what point do you think, if everything goes as planned and goes as it's been showing, that it could be on the general market where somebody, you can just get it most cities you live in?
Yeah, this vaccine is going to be, we anticipate will be approved in sort of 3 steps. The first step will be for women who are battling breast cancer at the time in a treatment modality.
Mhm.
Um, and we think that could be out in a few years, 5 years or so, plus or minus. The second stage will be situations like Chase was in, women who've already had cancer and have survived it, but are worried about a recurrence. So for recurrence prevention, and that will be shortly after the initial therapeutic approach. And then the third and the most impactful is going to be what we call the prophylactic approach, where these will be women who've never had breast cancer but are worried about getting breast cancer in the future, including women who carry the mutations that predispose them to breast cancer, um, as well as women who don't carry mutations but feel they're worried about breast cancer. So we'll give them the shots ahead of any cancer diagnosis, and hopefully we'll prevent breast cancer. Hopefully we'll be able to maybe, fingers crossed, this is our vision, uh, eliminate breast cancer as a disease, kind of like we've done with vaccines for smallpox and polio and other infectious diseases.
Or at least triple negative, or would this be all other breast cancers?
Yeah, that's a good question. We're initially focused on triple negative because, as Chase indicated, it's the most lethal form of breast cancer, most aggressive form. But we have shown that this protein exists in other types of breast cancer as well.
Hmm.
And so the phase two will include triple negative patients as well as patients who have other types, hormone positive patients as well, which is the bulk of the breast cancer cases.
I was really intrigued by the part you said that people who just have a gene that could predispose them could get this vaccine. I actually haven't had my genes measured, but my mom did have breast cancer, so I do wonder, I probably should get it tested sometime. Um, but you were saying there are, like, you wouldn't want to be breastfeeding or be breastfeeding anytime soon, right? Like if you're in that category, right?
That's correct. We've never tested this on women who were pregnant or have become pregnant, but we tested it on animals after giving the animals the vaccine and then enabling them to have children or have litters. And the litters were perfectly fine, but it was very difficult for the mother to produce milk.
Mhm.
So in the case of humans, we would recommend that you take the vaccine after you're no longer going to have children. But if you do, accidentally or you plan to have children, you will probably have to feed your baby with formula. And
So it
during the
doesn't it doesn't impact your fertility, it impacts your body to produce milk, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
Chase, I wanted to ask you a question. Like, what has your life been like post this vaccination and, going about your day to day?
Yeah, it's given me a lot of peace of mind. I think anyone, that has been diagnosed with cancer is constantly concerned and has a little anxiety around like, will it come back? What steps can I take to prevent it from coming back? And I truly believe that immunotherapy is the future of oncology. So it was really exciting to be able to participate in this trial, and it's just given me just a ton of peace of mind knowing that I'm doing everything I can to prevent a recurrence.
I want to backtrack a little bit. I read that your dog actually helped you find your breast cancer. Can you
He
tell me that
did.
story?
Yes, so my dog's name is Kato. He's a rescue, half lab, half golden retriever. And he's always been kind of like a bit of a shadow for me, but never really like anxious or anything like that, just always very, very chill. And then a couple weeks before I found the lump, or actually I should say he found the lump, he started acting really strange around me. Like he was anxious, he was kind of looking at me and whining, which is just completely out of character for him.
Mhm.
And I was just like, what is the deal, buddy? Like, do you need to go out? Like, what's going on? And my husband and I couldn't really figure out what was going on with him. And then one day he became like increasingly, it seemed frustrated.
Mhm.
One day he just took his nose and kind of like pushed it into the side of my breast, sat down, looked at me straight in the eyes and just whined. And when he did that, it hurt. And I was like, ow. And so I started, investigating. And then that's when I found the lump. And then he did it again. Like 10 minutes later, he came up to me and like pressed his nose right on the lump and then whined and looked at me. And I was like, okay, buddy, like I get the message. I will schedule an appointment and get this looked at.
Yeah.
So yeah, I tried to get in with my primary care provider and I was told, "Oh, you're too young for cancer. Like it's probably nothing. We can get you in." That was in the beginning of January
Mm.
that this happened. They told me they could get me in May of that year. And I was like, that's not soon enough. So I ended up going to a different primary care provider that I didn't have an established relationship with. It was just like a Duke PA, because I could get in within like 2 weeks to see her. And she looked at it and said, like, oh, it's probably nothing. Like, you shouldn't be worried. You're too young for cancer. Like we can just watch and see. And I just told her, like, I'm losing sleep over this. Like, what tests do we need to do to find out definitively what it is? And she said, well, I can just send you for a mammogram just to be safe. And so that's what we did. 2 weeks later, I had a
Mm.
mammogram and it came back as suspicious, and that led to ultrasound and biopsy, and then eventually the diagnosis.
Dr. Kumar, have you noticed more young women being diagnosed with breast cancer in the last decade?
Well, in general, younger people are being diagnosed with multiple types of cancers. We're seeing that in colon cancer
Yeah.
underscored in colon cancer mostly. But yes, the women are being diagnosed earlier. And what Chase said, a couple of things are important. I want to highlight what Chase said. Number one, Cato is a hero. Uh, Number two, and by the way, we know in the past that dogs are really good at identifying things. We've never been able to systematically train dogs to do that, but it's not uncommon for the Chase to have the experience that other women have had. Number two, it's always important to advocate for yourself. Initially, they said, Chase, you're too young and you can't, it's probably nothing, don't worry about it. But really, she felt that there was something going on and
Mhm.
she advocated for herself. Um, and then the third thing is, I think it's important to understand that we know some of the genes and gene mutations that predispose you to certain types of cancers, especially breast cancer. But if you have those genes, it's very important for you to be vigilant. And in fact, many women are having prophylactic mastectomies, meaning they're having their breasts surgically removed before they get the breast cancer because they don't want it. Angelina Jolie did that a few
Mhm.
years ago in public with her journey there. But even if you don't have the genes, it's important to understand that I should say the gene mutations. It's important to understand that we don't know all of the various genetic factors that predispose you. We just have identified some, but there are others. And so there are lots of women who do not have those genetic dispositions that do get breast cancer. So it's always important to be vigilant.
And one thing I forgot to ask before, why is it so hard to treat triple negative breast cancer?
Well, we classify breast cancer. One way of classifying breast cancer is by the proteins that exist on the surface of that cancer cell. And the three proteins we typically look for are receptors for hormones, progesterone and estrogen receptor and progesterone receptor, and a growth factor called HER2/neu. And if you've got one or more of those, then there are some therapies that can be used to try and arrest that cancer. Triple negative is the type that doesn't have any of those three proteins. That's hence triple negative. And so there are very, very few therapies that we have for targeting that type of cancer. In fact, um, triple negative breast cancer incidence is about 15% amongst all breast cancers, but it has the highest number of deaths
Mm.
and recurrences. And so it is definitely the most aggressive type.
Yeah. And I was thinking for the phase 2 clinical trial, do you guys have a map of where the new locations would be? Or I'm thinking if people are interested, like how can they find that out?
They can just stay abreast of our website. We'll be announcing every new location as we sign them on, but the expectation is that it'll be throughout the country. And so most of the major metropolises will have a site, and there may be a few others in various community centers, community sites as well.
Might be one in Raleigh, right, Chase?
Hopefully.
Um, all right, so I'm at my closing comments now. So from either of you, Dr. Kumar or Chase, anything else you guys want to add about the study, the importance of it, the vaccine? I mean, everyone thinks of vaccines as, yeah, measles, mumps, things like that, but this is a different concept.
Yeah, I'll just add, number one, I think it's very important to think about clinical trials for patients. You have to be your own advocate. And I want to underscore one point that Chase brought up. Many years ago, as a cancer researcher, you typically think about how to destroy the cancer when it's raging in a person's body. But I remember, I don't know if it was about 8 or 10 years ago, I met a woman who had survived breast cancer, and she changed the way I think about cancer as a researcher. She told me that even though she'd survived, the process of survival was brutal.
Hmm.
Chemotherapy, I mean, Chase will, tell you that. But even after that, she always had this great anxiety that she'd wake up in the morning, and if she had a headache, she would wonder, has my cancer come back and metastasized to my brain? Or if I have a backache, has it come back and metastasized to my bone? So it's not good enough for us to treat the cancer. We would like to prevent the cancer and also prevent a recurrence. And so that would be the ideal situation. That's what we're trying to do. That's what the vision that the original inventors at the Cleveland Clinic had for this breast cancer vaccine. And if we could do this with breast cancer, there's no reason why we couldn't potentially do this with other cancers as well.
Yeah, that's going to be my next question. So it's not just breast cancer, we think. I mean, how
Yeah,
close are we to doing this with colon cancer, pancreatic cancer? That's one of the most deadly ones.
yeah, we're working on a number of other types at the research stage. One type that is advanced is a vaccine for ovarian cancer, which is already we're already working on that with us, Cleveland Clinic, and the National Institute of Health and National Cancer Institute. And that one is still at the animal testing stage, so it's advanced past the laboratory research stage. It's not quite ready for human testing, but we
Mm.
hope it'll be in the near future.
All right. And Chase, what last comments do you want to offer? I mean, I know you kind of talked a little bit before about how you don't feel as anxious, I think, as you did initially, right?
Yeah, I don't. I mean, it's given me great peace of mind, and it's 100% right. Like as a cancer survivor, you go through treatment, and people I think, once you finish your last day of active treatment, everything's over, and for survivors it very much is not. Like every pain that you have, you're like, "Oh, what is this? Like, do I need to go get scanned again?" And it's just this constant kind of in the back of your mind lurking of like it could come back, it could spread. So really like doing these clinical trials and having options to prevent recurrence is just life-changing for people. So I'm so thrilled to have been a part of it. And I think like the other thing to focus on is just being your own advocate. Like, you know your body better than anyone else. And if you feel something's wrong, like don't let one expert say, you know, something differently. Like keep going and keep pushing for answers.
And how is your dog now?
He's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is phenomenal. After I had surgery, he was as calm as he's ever been. So, it's also a peace of mind knowing that he told me I had it the first time, and so it's reassuring before every scan. I look at him and I'm like, okay, he's not anxious. We're good.
He knows, he knows.
Yeah.
Oh, so sweet. All right. Well, that was most of the questions I had. Unless there was anything else either of you wanted to add.
I don't think so from my perspective, but thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, thank you guys. I think that was really interesting to hear the medical side of it, but also the patient side, and that this might be available very soon in a lot of cities. So I think a lot of people will be interested in that, and particularly if we have a family history. Thank you so much for tuning into the Wellness Files with Carrie Beal. If you like what you heard, make sure to follow us on Spotify or Apple. You can also leave a review or comment there. And if you're listening or watching on YouTube, make sure to save this playlist. This way you can see new episodes as they come out. They should be released every Wednesday. And I'm also on social media. Again, my name's Carrie Beal. You can follow me there. And on Substack, I post a summary of the podcast and other health stories that I'm working on. Thanks for listening.